Welcome to episode 86 of the Central Intelligence Cinema Podcast. Today, Ben and I finish up our riveting review of Never Say Never Again and put to bed finally the question,
is this a real Bond movie or not? Because clearly it is, given how long we chatted on for.
So I think that settles the debate.
Yeah.
And now, without further ado, take it away, Mr. Brosnan.
Beg your pardon, forgot to knock.
Welcome to the CIC, initiating security clearance.
Who are you?
Bond. James Bond.
Pussy galore.
Felix Leiter.
His name's Jaws. He kills people.
And Stavro Blofeld.
Identity confirmed.
Now, pay attention, 007.
Welcome to Central Intelligence Cinema, a podcast dedicated to spy movies and secret agent pop culture.
Bond, what do you think you're doing?
Keeping the British hand up, sir.
You amuse me, Mr. Bond.
Do you expect me to talk?
Sorry, old man. Section 26, paragraph 5. Need to know. Sure you understand.
Goodbye, Mr. Bond.
Recording from an undisclosed island found only through an otherwise useless plot device, it's the Central Intelligence Cinema Podcast. I'm Ben Esslinger, and with me, as should always be the case, Jason Greenberg.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Ben. Hey, buddy, we're back.
We're back. We're back for part 2.
Part 2. Finally settling the great Never Say Never Again debate. Is it a real James Bond movie or is it not a real James Bond movie? And I think we can definitively put it to bed.
Yes, the litmus test being, can the CIC get through it in under 2 hours? And the answer is no.
Nope. And so like every Bond movie we've had to review in true fashion since the very beginning, if it's got to go two-parter, it's got to be a Bond film.
Exactly.
Well, you all managed to sit through the first part of this thing, so we won't keep you waiting a whole lot longer. Let's go ahead and dive into it. What do you think, Ben?
That sounds real good. Let's do it.
So we cut to a promotional image of Nice in France that pans down to Felix Leiter at the airport. Then Bond is walking through the airport and is joined by Agent 326, who is named Nicole, who is clearly French, who lets him know that she found a villa for them where Bond wanted, and Largo's boat, the Flying Saucer, is anchored just below it. She also gives him Q's latest care package, which includes a gigantic motorcycle stuffed in a styrofoam box. Woohoo!
Which, why? Why is it in styrofoam? Did they just pack everything in styrofoam in the 80s? Like, is that just what they did? It's just, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they needed to be discreet. Also, that motorcycle, I don't know. I don't know if it's just of its time. It's just awkward. It's an awkward looking bike, man.
It looked like everything in the 80s. It had too much plastic on it in places it didn't need plastic.
Yeah, it was like additional ground effects that didn't need to be there or something. I don't know.
I mean, the motorcycle did have bumper blockers and a rocket propelled thing and some other stuff, so fine. It didn't look as bad as the motorcycles from Megaforce, which had rockets built into them, but it definitely looked more like Judge Dredd's motorcycle than anything else.
Yeah.
But so as they walk out, Felix throws a ball at them, which gets James all freaked out.
Yeah.
And it kind of establishes that Felix is kind of a dick in this movie.
Oh, yeah. He's just like taking pot shots at Bond left and right. And also, he's kind of a weird Felix in the sense that, like, okay, you're at an airport and you throw something at somebody else in the middle of a very public area. Like, and nobody's freaking out. Except, well, actually, that's not true. I think I did see one extra that sort of freaked out when the whole thing went down. But it was just like, Who is this fucking guy? Who is this Felix Leiter? Like, this is not your grandmother's Felix Leiter.
No, like he's like James Bond is the most secret agent, and Felix Leiter is the most unintelligent intelligence of the CIA. I don't know. It was like, we don't live up to whatever it is that we're supposed to be doing. I don't know. But, he comes out. They're very jovial. He's definitely got more character and charisma than I think any Felix Leiter we see until we get to Jeffrey Wright later.
Absolutely. And I think he has kind of a Lando vibe to him, too.
Oh, yeah. So they walk out to Nicole's car, and there's the big motorcycle in tow in the styrofoam in the back. And I do like how they get in the back seat and she has to drive.
Yeah. There's this weird exchange, too, where they're talking about the bike. Him and Felix are talking about the bike. And it's I felt like they weren't even on the same page because, like, Felix says something to the effect of, like, well, it's your ass, Bond, or something like that. And Bond is like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then they get in the car, and I'm like, what was that exchange? It was so weird.
Well, I think Felix was trying to say that all of Q's inventions don't really work very well.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Bond should be wary of the motorcycle and what it could do. But Bond's like, no, nothing's ever gone bad for me before. So I don't think, I think that's kind of where that was coming from. But we get to the villa. Nicole is kind of giving the lay of the land and whatnot. And Bond walks out, finally having shed his business coat. He's in at least his shirt sleeves at this point. He goes out to a gigantic viewing telescope. And naturally, we get right in on Domino, who for some reason is up there dancing sexy on the deck of the boat, right?
Yep. I mean,
we get the male chauvinist pig scene here, where he's like, Felix,
yes,
forget the soup, feast your eyes on this, right?
Yes.
And,
come oogle with me, Felix.
Yes, let's take a look at this hot dancing blonde on the boat.
And Nicole doesn't miss a beat.
And exactly. As they're getting rid of it, then Nicole walks in, he's like, oh, that is Domino Petecci. And then they all make the connection. Aha! There's two Peteccis in this movie. That means there's something going on here. I get it now. I get it. Aha! So we cut from there to Domino going to the health spa with her. What kind of hairstyle? I'm not really sure. I don't usually do a whole lot of fashion commentary here, but when you have someone like Kim Basinger in a movie and you don't utilize it to its full potential, I have to wonder what the F you were thinking about, right?
Also, this is such a icky Revenge of the Nerds moment for this movie, too.
Yes.
The fact that he identifies himself as the massage therapist or masseuse and then just walks off and yeah. And she's supposed to pretend to think it's like charming and like, ooh, that was kind of hot.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be perfectly frank with you. If I'm getting a massage and Sean Connery comes in and starts, I'm going to be a little turned on too. I'm not saying anything's going to happen.
That is fair. That is fair. It's not. It's
Sean
not,
Connery. You know, come on.
That's true. It's Sean Connery.
He's got strong hands. You know, he's going to give you a good massage, especially with the lesions building up in your.
It's not the guy from Revenge of the Nerds.
No, Sean Connery gives good back massages. If you could say nothing else about the man, you know that they needed that. And that makes me wonder if at some point in time, Alec Baldwin was like, so, what was it like getting a back rub from Sean Connery? Because the one he gave me on Hunt for Red October was amazing.
Oh, my God.
You could just see Sean Connery on Hunt for Red October coming up and going, you know, Alec, I think you've got some lesions building up on your vertebrae. Yeah, let me give you a shot there.
Tales from the set.
Yes, indeedy. All right, let's bring this train back on the rail. So while Bond is giving her his unsanctioned massage, she lets out that there's going to be a charity event at the casino, and he's like, yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to go to. And she's like, oh, I wish I could invite you, but my boyfriend's a dick. And quickly, as Ben pointed out, other masseuse comes out. He beats feet. She's like, oh, well, he was rather handsome. Smile. But from there, we cut to the charity ball where Nicole, he has to be driven again, right? Come on. Nicole drives in the chair. Okay, Mom, I'll be ready to go at 10. After I'm done, make sure you're here, pick me up. But somehow Fatima has figured out what's going on, has bugged the car. So she gets out of her car and tells the driver to follow Nicole to the villa. More on that later. We get the kind of fun moment where Bond tells the security guy to hold the cigarette holder. I do love that scene.
That's a great scene.
That feels like a real James Bond funny moment.
Yes, very much so. Well, and again, Connery pulls it off. Like Connery has the presence and the gravitas to pull it off, to make it convincing and make it actually funny and make it work.
Absolutely.
And I don't think there's any other Bond actor who could probably pull that off.
Well, that's because I think out of all of them, he was the only one that could pull out humor and still feel like he's menacing at the same time.
Yeah.
And I mean, a lot of it was his physical stature.
Yeah.
He's just a very imposing person, but you always kind of felt like even when he was joking, he was just one thing away from stabbing you in the neck. So yeah, it was definitely a good scene that I think only he could have pulled off. And then we have that scene where he's kind of scoping out the casino and everybody's casinoing. And he just kind of walks by and dumps the pistol into a champagne bucket. Like, I don't need it. I got my Walther. I need to get rid of this thing. Plunk.
Does the little flippy flip thing before it goes in.
Yeah, he did. He did the little gunslinger thing. That was awesome. Yeah. I forgot about that. So he's basically casing the area full of all of these attractive people that are 80s appropriate. And then he spots Domino in her maybe 1972 appropriate dress and hairstyle. She looked like Jane Seymour in Somewhere in Time. I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah, it's that hairstyle. I do not understand how they took the most attractive person in the room and made them not even close to the most attractive person in the room.
And it wasn't that she wasn't attractive in it. It's just
no,
they were not conveying the same sort of finesse and style that you were seeing everybody else wearing in the room.
Right. They could have given her so much more presence. I mean, the dress has presence just because it's white and because it doesn't look like any of the other dresses. But aside from that, it's not like, oh, she looks stunning. It's just like, oh, what am I looking at over here?
She looked like she was wearing a bad bridesmaid dress.
Yeah, that's kind of hitting it right on the head with that.
But, you know, Bond, of course, is unfazed because he's already seen what she looks like dancing on the boat. So he's not going to let some ugly dress stop him.
That's right.
No. So he's casing the room. And she gets up. We have the little kind of like a little Bond goes behind a wall shot. She comes out from behind the wall shot. He follows her from behind the wall shot. Kind of like that whole little setup there.
Yeah.
But then they go into the clearly product endorsement from Atari Games in 1983 arcade, because every game in that arcade was an Atari product. There were like 17 Centipede machines in there, some Missile Command, some Gravitar. I mean, there was an Asteroids game in there somewhere.
Well, and here's what's the interesting thing, too, about that. Having that arcade there is you notice that in 1983, it's almost like a sign of prestige to have all these arcade games. Like it almost painted it as at some level of prestige, whereas now it's just nobody even thinks twice about a video arcade. If anything, it's just like...
When I was watching it last night on the second go-round, I looked over to my wife and I'm like, so is this like the south of France's version of Circus Circus in Las Vegas? Is it Cirque, and you got gambling on the one floor and then there's video games in a midway up at the top?
It's like Dave and Buster's before it was Dave and Buster's, but much more like high-end, fancy. Like they tried to paint it as this really fancy, high technology thing, and like watching it now, it's just like, who cares?
Dumb. So Bond kind of corners Domino in there, and apologizes for all the things and whatever else, and we get some cuts to Largo, which is kind of funny because there's this blonde in a red dress playing Centipede. And you just know Largo's mansplaining how to do it, how to play Centipede to her while she's playing it.
Oh, totally.
And he's all like, no, you have to use a trackball, and you're going to see those bugs, they're trying to come down and kill you. And in order to get to them, you have to shoot through the mushrooms. But be careful, the spider comes from the top, and he may drop on you and kill you at any moment. So... yeah, but then he sees Bond doing his thing, and so then we have this little chat where Largo makes light of the idea that Bond could even steal Domino away from him as an underpaid British agent.
Yes.
But then Largo approaches Domino and Bond and then invites Bond to play a game, Shall we play a game?
We play a game.
How about global thermonuclear
war?
Fine.
What year did War Games come out?
82, I believe. It was a year before this.
Perfect. There you go.
But before we get into the game of domination, let me just say, I had forgotten about this part, even though when I was a kid, this was my favorite part of the movie.
Okay.
Because 13-year-old Jason thought this was the coolest fucking thing ever, right? But watching it, the first thing I thought of was RoboCop.
Okay.
Where they have that little interstitial commercial. You've crossed my line of death. I'm going to deploy my nuclear arsenal. And it's a family playing a nuclear bomb game, and the bomb goes up in a hologram in the middle. And I'm like,
yes,
they totally took that from this. They totally took it from this. Also, they were clearly playing the last Starfighter game when he's in the Gunstar, but that was 3 years later, so maybe that was a homage. I don't know, but it was so much. And also, I have to point out, before I go into this, the shield that they use to block the missiles while they're playing.
Yeah.
Did you notice it was the gun barrel iris from the gun barrel opening?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Somebody was
there
like,
somebody was thinking.
We're gonna, yeah, somebody that had to be an intentional fuck you to Eon, because it's clear it even rotates the same direction.
Subtle middle finger. Or maybe a not so subtle middle finger.
Exactly. But I digress. So they go into this room, and there's this gigantic table with a screen in the middle of it, two very ornate chairs for no apparent reason. And Largo explains that, he likes playing games, and he had this one built, and do you want to play? And Connery goes very subtle in this entire scene.
Yeah.
It's like one word, yes, let's go, kind of thing. But basically, Largo's like, well, so here's this game, and I built it, and I'm really fucking good at it, and nobody can beat me, but want to try? And so they sit down, and rather than giving him all the instructions for the game at the beginning, they play the game, and then it's like, oh, did I forget to tell you that we feel the pain of the people that we're trying to kill, unlike armchair generals. And then, oh, did I forget to mention that the pain increases the more you lose? And, oh, did I forget to mention that if you don't spin the controllers around 3 times and go up, down, left, right, start, A-B, that, the whole thing will not work.
Yes.
And all of it is to get to this point where Bond loses really bad, shows what a stud he is by taking all the pain, then gets him and goes, all right, I've got your number, I'm going to kick your ass now. Because that's literally, it's like all of a sudden 3 losses and he's an expert at this game now.
Yes.
Shall we play for the rest of the world? And so, part of you is like, Bond already knew how to beat this game, but he wanted to get Largo's ego up so he could win in the most gratuitous way possible. That's a very Bond thing to do.
Right.
But you're watching the game, and it's literally, I think that scene's almost 10 minutes long, and it's just pew, 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 bop, bop, pew, pew, pew. And I mean, it's so dumb. And then you've got the voice of the Cylon talking, now playing for total world domination.
Oh my God, yes. I never placed who it was, what that voice was until you said it just now. It is totally a Cylon from Battlestar Galactica. That is absolutely the voice that they chose. Also, I think it's really funny that the entire rest of the world is worth $325,000.
Right. But
it's a bargain.
America was worth $42,000 when you think about it.
Yeah.
But France was only 16.
Well, inflation, I suppose.
Japan was worth more than France, if I recall, because that was the one in between the U.S. and France. So I just thought it was kind of funny. That was that was their idea of a joke in some capacity, I'm pretty sure. But so as they play through, Bond wins. Largo rather gets the shock of his life.
I love how when Largo loses, he does that weird thing with his hands where he blows on his hands afterwards.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I don't even know what that is, but it's it's just very much a Klaus Largo interpretation.
Right. This is what Klaus would do if he got shocked.
I feel like he improvised that.
He totally did. He was like, oh, I'm supposed to be getting electric shocks. Very well. My hands are fine. They're all fine. Don't worry about me. So he comes out ready to write Bond a check for $267,000, which is the amount of money minus the 3 countries he lost to. And Bond's like, well, I'll just settle for a dance with Domino, right? And what do we get? the most uncomfortable tango I've ever seen in my life. Arnold Schwarzenegger danced the tango better than Sean Connery did. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it was because Connery's a bad dancer. I bet you he's a pretty good dancer.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just such a big guy. And Kim Basinger, who's tall, but isn't like, bulky or anything. I just think they were mismatched to do the dance.
I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. The way it was shot was a little weird, too.
Yeah.
But I immediately thought of True Lies. The moment I watched this down, it definitely gave some very awkward True Lies vibes.
Well,
through the whole thing.
Tango is the best dance for exposition, unless you're going to do a waltz.
Yes.
Because even in a waltz, it's all very slow and you can have a conversation. But the tango has points where it stops.
Yes.
And so you have that whole thing of, I know what I need to do. Da, 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 rum, bum, bum, bum. You look lovely tonight. Da, 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 da. Yeah. But this one was definitely exposition tango.
Yes, it's definitely the exposition tango. And clearly they chose the tango too because the things that Bond is about to tell Domino are very, very serious. Like, your brother's dead. So they need that brum.
Yes, exactly.
To sort of like punctuate
the gravitas of it, as it were.
Yes.
And so while they're dancing and getting all the important information out to Domino so she can change sides, we got Fatima and Largo up at the top, kind of being flirty, although Largo really isn't having anything of it, but clearly Fatima wants to get on that Largo train, if you know what I'm saying.
Honestly, I feel like Fatima wants everyone. I think Fatima just wants everyone to be obsessed with her. I think that's what her primary motivation is.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely an ego thing. You call it a manhunter kind of thing, so she makes her mark and then disposes them like a toy. It's definitely it, but I don't think that's the same thing with Largo. I feel like there's a genuine attraction for her to Largo. Or, maybe she's just the most spectery of Spectre agents and wants to get number one out of the way so she can move up in the organization.
There's that too.
But I mean, either way, they're chit-chatting and she's like, what if he steals her away? And that won't happen, but, if it does, then she'll have to go away. I don't care. But Largo basically says, I'm giving you another chance to kill Bond again. Please don't fuck it up.
Right.
A little more menacey than that, but that's basically...
Yeah, and then we get the weirdest moment where Fatima comes down the stairs and is like, she throws down her hair and she's just like with glee, just like coming down the stairs like, yay, I get to kill Bond. I get to try and kill Bond again. Like it's
right. It makes no sense at all.
It's certainly almost the predecessor to Xenia Onatop level.
Yes.
Obsession, menace, weird, crazy.
And come on, there's the hammer pants.
Yeah.
Coming down those stairs. Superman! You know what? Now that I'm thinking about that, I just said that. In our previous, earlier scenario where Max von Sydow plays Largo, you get Terrence Stamp to play Blofeld. Mic drop.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Wow, that's a good shout. That would be amazing to get Terrence Stamp.
And he could have had the same pants as Fatima, so I'm sure he had them in his closet. So Largo heads back downstairs, pull them away mid-dance, and then invites Bond to lunch for the next day, if he's still around. I mean, have you met your incompetent idiot number 12? He's still going to be around, dipshit. But Bond then goes back to the security guy because the dance is done, takes his cigarette case back, the guy passes out, hilarity ensues, and we go back to the villa.
I love how the guy is, at this point, the guy in the closet is literally supporting his other hand with his other hand, like trying to keep this thing level so that it doesn't blow up.
Good times. So explain to me, if you can, how we go from it being nighttime at the casino thingy, but when we get back to the house, it's daytime. What was 007 doing in the interstitial hours there?
That is a question for the ages there. I mean, maybe we didn't realize how much time went by during the, this gala event or whatever. Maybe this is stretched out across the entire evening. Who knows?
I don't know. I just know it seemed kind of weird, but
yeah, it's definitely daytime by the time they show up. Yeah.
And so Bond gets back to the villa, which, by the way, looks like the stairways were designed by the guys who built the Death Star laser chamber. There's no safety rails. There's no anything. You could just literally fly down this thing and fall down. Good quality imperial architecture at its finest in the south of France.
No handrails whatsoever. It looks like an MC Escher picture.
It really does. But anyway, so Bond gets back in, grabs an apple. After kind of doing do I want grapes?
He's hungry. He's been out, being a super spy all night, so he needs an apple.
I need to get my vitamin C back up. No oranges? How about some grapes? No, I'm going to have an apple. And he grabs the apple, takes an apple bite out of it. The best part of this scene, honestly, leading up to finding Nicole, is when he sees her and he sticks the apple on the Shiva statue on the arrow, just plunk. Like, well, I'm done with that.
Actually kind of great. I almost wonder if that was improvisational or not, the sticking it in there. The stagehands, they put all this stuff to set this living room, and then Connery saw it and was like, I'll stick my apple on there once I realize there's danger.
Well, so this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that was like the 7th take, and Kirshner wanted something different. So Sean does the whole fruit basket thing, gets the apple. Kirshner's like, yeah, I like it. Keep going. Because he'd done the scene enough. He knew that was there.
Yeah.
And it's a very Bond thing. It's like, well, I'm going to need both hands now. Plunk, and it goes. But we get into, he goes up the stairs, we get into, he puts the apple down, and we get into what has to be maybe a room, or has to be a room with maybe the most 80s waterbed I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah.
It looked like a fucking pool table made out of metal. With the little light adjuster with your feet down there, the little touch button with it. Oh my God. So 80s. Boy. Like, you looked at that thing and you knew that thing was a waterbed before you even pulled the sheets out.
The least firm bed in the universe.
He pulls out the thing and there's poor Nicole, just dead, drowned in a waterbed. How many women have died in beds in James Bond movies?
I don't know, but I might have to do some research to find out. The number's high.
I mean, I can think of 2 at the very least. 2 at the very least prior to this one. And then there was one, obviously, Quantum of Solace.
Yeah, I can think of about 4 right off the top of my head, but there's probably more than that.
But anyway, guess what, folks? Nicole's dead. She got drowned in a waterbed. Boo-hoo. Nobody really cared about her anyway. It's not like they put a whole lot of effort into developing her character at all.
I mean, she had like 2 lines.
Pretty much. And she drove the car. That was literally her job. But, once he sees he's dead, now I can't remember, does he hear a noise that leads him to look outside to see the Fatimas out there, or?
I think he hears the click-clack of her, like, going down some of the stairs or something like that.
Yes.
Because we get like a close-up of Fatima's heels. We get a close-up of Fatima's heels running, and then I think that's what, like, draws his attention or whatever. Then we cue the Batman music.
Yes. Would you say that since she's always in heels and it never works for her, that those are her, say it with me, Achilles heels?
Oh boy. They sure are, Dad.
Hey, I gotta get one in every time. Gotta get in one every time. So yeah, we cue the Batman's music. Bond goes out, pops the locks on the styrofoam case, gets the motorcycle, and off to the races.
Even the way that he sits down in the motorcycle is a very Batman getting onto the Bat motorcycle. It's right there. It is so Batman. It's just, instead of it being the Bat motorcycle, it's the Bond motorcycle.
Indeed.
It's the 007 mobile.
So we get this chase, which has some of Ben's favorite sped up car chase footage. It's not too egregious, though.
It's not, because I didn't see any, like, ultra fast people walking. So at least there's that.
And it was intercut with just the regular speed stuff. So it didn't feel like it was kicking you in the teeth. But, we get the typical things that you see in a motorcycle small car chase in Europe with people driving over stairs, taking vehicles where they don't belong. Thank God she wasn't driving that Citroen under stairs. It was just Bond. But it's your basic these streets are too small for anything to drive in car chase.
Yes.
That ends up with them in a kind of Wile E. Coyote situation where he gets chased into a tunnel where there's a truck with a bunch of bad guys who are bad guys because they're all wearing the same black leather cap.
Yes, they all had to go get the official assigned black cap. Also, can I just mention real quick that how bad are the gadgets on this motorcycle? They're not even worth mentioning.
They're pretty fucking worthless.
Yeah, the bumper things that come on the front and the back to like avoid somehow getting damage from the cars or whatever.
Yeah.
The only thing that's worth anything at all is the rocket thing. And that's a whole nother conversation in and of itself. The whole fact that like that rocket booster can somehow allow him to literally frog leap over a car.
Well, my guess is that MI6 was partnering with Knight Industries.
Sure, of course.
And they just had a turbo button on it.
I wonder what acronym they gave the motorcycle as opposed to KIT.
I don't know. Maybe it was something like MIT, MI 2000. I guess that would be Mission Impossible 2000. Never mind. Ministry of Intelligence. I don't know. Maybe it was like BOND, like bio-organic, newfangled dingle flot motorcycle. I don't know. But yeah, it sure was able to propel that motorcycle Batman style wherever it needed to go. At least there wasn't a slide whistle.
That is fair. That is very fair. The choice to have some restraint when it came to the slide whistle, I appreciate heavily.
Absolutely. So they get Bond, they get him cornered in the tunnel, they drive him into the back of a semi. They think they got him, but no, somehow 007 magically has enough room to turn his motorcycle around in a semi-trailer.
So dumb.
And waits for that ramp to get to the right angle, and then turbo boost kit over all the cars, through the fake construction sign thingies, and finally we end up getting Fatima chasing Bond into some kind of weird warehousey sort of thing. And she uses I guess it's like a boat dock or something maybe. Or a boat refurbishing place.
Yeah, and it's got like all these archways and shit. I don't even know what that place was, but
I mean it's very picturesque. You can tell Slocum was like, this'll do fine.
Yeah.
It's lots of slatted wood where light could come in an interesting way. But yeah, Fatima basically clocks him Luke Skywalker style, gets knocked off by a tree branch or something like that. But at this nail mast, he gets knocked off, falls down. The bike does not fall because it's such a finely crafted piece of equipment. It just runs into a wall and sits there waiting for Bond to get back on. But then here comes Fatima. She's in control now, folks, in her hammer pants and her gun, her big old 357 Smith & Wesson.
This is such a... I don't know how to feel about this scene.
I do. It's dumb.
It's dumb. It's really dumb.
But strangely enough, it's one of the few scenes that remained in my mind from this movie. I can't believe I remember this scene and not the video game scene. With as much as that video game scene had on me as a kid.
See, the video game scene is the one that I always remembered from the brief times that I saw bits and pieces of this movie, but I definitely did not remember this scene.
Well, and I remember this specifically because somebody at one of my jobs prior to becoming a cinema intelligence agent,
yes,
somebody had asked me for a recommendation, not for a job, but for something at school that they were doing, and I said, yeah, I'll take care of it. Let me write something up for you right now. And I knew I had this opportunity. I'm like, oh, I've forgotten. It's against MI6 policy for agents to give out endorsements. Now, this was years after I'd seen the movie, but that line had just stuck in my head forever. And I was so happy that I finally got to use it, pull it out of the archives or something, and then I could just shove it back in again. But it's happened a couple of times with employees.
I will say that he delivers that line really well.
He absolutely... Dude, he was Pete Connery in this scene.
Oh my God.
It's just such an oddly weird scene.
It's like the weirdest demise of a henchman or villain, and yet Connery is like crushing it in this scene. He's absolutely crushing every funny line.
Yeah.
Like every one-liner is hilarious. The whole, well, to be honest, there was this girl in Philadelphia.
Right. And then she gets all torqued up about it.
Yeah.
Right? And she grabs some old newspaper on there and tells him to write on it. And he pulls out the magic pen.
Yeah.
So we know shit's going down. And he starts writing. It's, Fatima Blush brought me to the most rapture. And the thing she's saying sounds so weird.
Yeah.
But then he pulls out I just forgot I'm not allowed to make endorsements. And then he shoots her with a pen. And it doesn't do anything, right?
Right. Well, it gets stuck in her belt, but that's it.
Yeah. So Felix's prediction comes true at this point. But then it starts to work. And we get, boom, Fatima goes the dynamite. She's Fatima blushed all over the place.
Not perfected yet.
Yes. And then I love that Felix comes out on the other side of this. Oh, I knew you had her handled, James.
Yeah.
Like, how the fuck long were you there, you asshole?
Doesn't bother to step in. I just wanted to see how you do.
Right? Like, as if he's waiting to prove his point with a stupid fucking pen. He was gonna move in, but then he saw Bond pull out the big fat
And he's like,
pen.
wait a minute.
He's like, oh no, I'm gonna see if this shit works. I got a point to prove here.
Just so he could say, I told you so.
Exactly. This is the Felix Leiter that I love. He is such an American in this one. It's
Very
great.
much so.
So then we get they buy into it completely. I want to say both Bertie Casey and Sean Connery buy into this next scene with an aplomb that I find impressive even today. But they head off in disguise as a boxer and a trainer in their boxers and no trainers. They're wearing their dress shoes, their boxers, and their t-shirts. 007 has stolen a bicycle, and Bertie Casey's out doing the little shadow boxing as they're running, and they're singing.
It is
Connery's singing. And he signals a left-hand turn.
That whole scene is just like, it's so ridiculous, and yet it works so well, because the other part of this is that Connery is at that age where he looks like a trainer now. So you can buy into it.
Yes. He says in the movie he has been.
Exactly.
And so they literally just make a left-hand turn into an alley, and we move on to our next scene, which takes us to Act 3.
Okay, Act 3. We're almost there, Jason. So now we cut to underwater, where Bond and Felix are doing some scuba sneaking. They're scuba sneaking their way onto Largo's boat. But as Bond makes his way up a ladder to the deck, so he gets in. This is a really weird moment here too, because
it's like you almost get sucked in through the diving chamber.
Right, he gets sucked in, and then Felix is locked out for whatever reasons. So,
which I'm going to go out on a limb and say is 100% segregation. I mean, Largo looks like that kind of guy. I'm just saying.
I mean, they play him as German in this, so well, at least the actor is. So I'm just saying.
I don't know.
The
whole thing seemed a little wonky, right? Like they're like, I'll try here, knock, knock, knock. No, wonder if maybe there's a latch over here, and all of a sudden it just opens up and starts sucking in water, and there goes Bond. He couldn't possibly grab on or push himself away to get where he's not in the thing, but in he goes, and then right up before Felix can get in. Because when I watched it the first time, I was like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
Did they open it and then he went in and then it closed before Felix could get in? But on the second go around, I'm like, no, that's where they come out later in the movie.
I just think that they were at an impasse as to how to write this so that Felix could make it back to shore and bring the cavalry on later on in the movie.
Right, with his laser blasting submarine. That thing, sure.
Yeah. Exactly.
My Imperial submarine.
Exactly. So it was just awkward, that separation, how suddenly Bond's on board, but Felix isn't, and suddenly Felix is just like, oh, I'm just going to take my ball and go home now. Because he gets to shore, and he's like...
He's all, man!
He's like kicking... He's like kicking. Yeah, exactly. Like
pulls
rips
off his hood, and he just like slams it into the water.
Exactly. He's all mad. But anyway... So Bond,
so I guess we can't really accuse him of pulling a Fatima at that point. You know, like, oh, James is in, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I'm going to go dance. Woo, la, 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 la.
right. He just flat out gave up and was like, all right, I'm going to go at this from a different angle.
I'm getting the laser sub.
That's right. It's laser sub time. So then Bond, he's making his way up those little tunnel thingies with a ladder up to the top of the ship, and he's immediately greeted by a butler, which why wouldn't he?
We were expecting you, sir.
Oh, yes, here's a robe.
Here's a robe and a little towel for your neck, sir.
So he's like, Mr. Largo's waiting for you. So they go off, and Bond looks over the side for a moment to try and find Felix, and then, of course, the butler is just like, no, over here, sir. So...
Sir!
Over here, please. So he meets Largo, and we get the whole usual, the whole Bond meets the villain in a very civil way, even though clearly Bond is now captured. But it's this whole level of civility that they always have.
Right.
So he gets a tour of the ship. Bond gets a tour of the ship in this toweling robe. And it's so weird that, again, this level of civility is so high that Bond just gets free reign of his boat while Largo goes to his little, cubby hole with his peaky hole, his little oogling chamber. But, as Bond is in the control room, Largo says, oh, well, lunch is at noon. And he's like, bye-bye. And then Largo's off. And then Bond's just sort of in the control room, just sort of looking around with a martini in his hand, and he happens to see on the computer screen, very conveniently, Tears of Allah scrolls across the screen just as he's leaving.
Coordinates, no less.
Yes.
Well, I think it's important to point out that, they bring the butler brings Bond to the bridge of the ship. Then that's where he meets Largo, and Largo, I think Bond asks for a drink, and Largo kind of gives him a look like, it's 10:30.
Yeah, because he asked what he'd like, to drink, and he's like, vodka martini, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, he's like, okay.
Guy's got a problem.
We just finished breakfast, man.
Well, it's the 80s.
That's a Bond breakfast, though, right there.
It is. Well, I mean, maybe, Largo's a product of at least in this movie, he's a product of the 80s. So maybe he was going the other way with it. He was having his breakfast bump while.
Could be. Maybe that look wasn't like, okay. Maybe it was like, okay.
Exactly. So anyway, Bond is making his way down the corridor, and Domino sort of peeks her head
out of the dance room that's right next to the control room.
Yes. It also reminds me at this juncture in the movie that the leotards that they give her to wear are increasingly more transparent as the movie goes on. And at this point, it's like, I can't even concentrate on the dialogue.
No. There was no stone left unturned with that particular apparel.
No, not at all. So anyway, she's sort of like, I'll be in here. And then he has to go off with the butler.
Because the butler's like, sir,
over here. Pay attention, please.
I'm sorry. You are a secret agent, aren't you, sir? I would expect that they would be a little more intelligent if they're actually intelligence officers. Please come this way, sir. It's like, we need to have somebody who's an asshole, but we can't have it as Q. Let's make it the butler.
Sure. So the butler hustles him on to his room to give him clothes, because apparently that is of the utmost importance to get him back into a suit of sorts.
Right, not comfort wear.
No.
Let's put him in a blue suit.
Right.
A blue shirt, nice khakis. He's ready to go.
Exactly. So then he meets Domino in the dance studio, and they turn on the music to avoid being heard, because Bond knows that the whole room is probably bugged. Well, he probably did. He was searching in there, didn't he?
Yeah, he opened it up and saw there was the dance room in there.
Okay, so he knew
not that he couldn't figure it out by walking from the room past it and Domino shows up.
Right.
But I mean, he is a Navy man. He probably knows how a boat works.
Right. So he turns on the music to avoid being heard, and he's turning his face away from the mirror and everything, and he's asking where they're going. We find out they're headed to North Africa, where Largo has a house called Palmyra. And then he's backing up towards the mirror, and he's talking to Domino. He's like, I'm going to do something now to get a reaction. And it's like, for two reasons. He's like, I'm going to kiss you, and you need to pretend to like.
Right.
He's like, one, because I want to provoke a reaction, and two, because I've always wanted to, you know.
Because I've always wanted to.
Yes, ever since the first time I saw you in here.
Yeah, ever since I saw you from the peeper thing on top of my apartment. I was watching you dance around on the deck.
It was quite nice.
It was lovely.
So, because he knows that Largo's in his little oogling chamber.
Yeah, he watched him go in there.
So then he kisses Domino. And then, of course, Largo gets really mad because Largo is the most jealous man alive, really. Well, although, I mean, I think any man would. Anyway, so he goes and runs around the corner to try and catch up with them. And at that point, they've already skedaddled out of there. And Domino hits an alarm, which sends all the guys out of the control room.
And the dumbest alarm ever. It sounds like a cat just having its tail constantly pulled.
The audio in this movie is not top notch.
There was a lot of recycling going on there.
The other thing about this is they're at sea. Where are those control guys even going? Like, I mean, I guess they're getting on like a little, runner boat to like leave or whatever.
Escape boats, right? You know.
Yeah. So I guess so they all take off out of the control room, and that gives Bond enough time to go in there and send some sort of message to MI6 while Largo is like taking an axe at this point to the dance studio. He's so mad and losing his mind over this whole situation.
He's busting every mirror but the mirror to the hidey hole.
Yeah, because, well, I'm going to need that for later.
Right.
So, in the meantime, we get a quick glance that MI6 has received the message, and they're like, is this Bond? Bond where is he? You know, it's like very, MI6's clueless sort of.
Sure.
Cut,
well, then he hands off this, to Porn Tanner. He's like, "Sign up what this whole mirror is." Porn Tanner's like, all right, I'll do the best I can. Not like, yes, sir, on it, sir. But right. All right, I'll do the best I can.
Yeah,
I mean, it really was like they were just trying to say that they populated MI6 with a bunch of like political sycophants. And there wasn't anybody capable there except for Bond and maybe Algie. That was it.
Yeah, just the old timers that are still, that they couldn't fire or whatever.
Right.
So then they make it to Palmyra, and Largo leads them in, but like immediately, it's sort of like the game is up at that point. And because he says to Domino, he's like, "How do you like your new home?" And right after that, he sicks the guards on Bond and takes him away. And then he does more of this like the crazy act thing with Domino, where he like hands her this expensive jade, this priceless jade statue or whatever, and then spooks her or knocks it out of her hands, and it goes smashing to the floor, and she's just like, "You're crazy," and he's like, yeah, maybe I am. You think? So it's funny too, because he's like, "You betrayed me, but I forgive you," seeing as how I killed your brother. Right. It's like,
never mess with another man's rhubarb.
Exactly. And then she's playing Vicky Vale again in the scene. So then they put Domino in some sort of Middle Eastern.
Put her in a burqa.
Yeah, I almost struggled to call it a burqa because it's just Hollywood's version of a burqa.
It's burqa-esque.
Burqa-esque in nature.
With maybe the most offensive Arab stereotype guy.
Oh boy, yeah.
That was not great.
Yeah, no,
got him
that
in the
whole
suit, the bottom of it's unbuttoned, so his belly's hanging out.
Yeah,
it was offensive to me. And I'm the kind of guy that if I'm wearing a suit, my belly's going to be probably sticking out with a button or two. So
right,
that guy and I should have been like simpatico, and I'm like, no, this is bad.
Yeah,
this is very bad, Ray.
Yeah. Yeah. So this whole section is a little highly
Very
questionable. Yeah.
I mean, we're literally talking Lawrence of Arabia era Arabs. That's the whole vibe here.
Yes,
right?
very much so.
Noble savages kind of thing. And I'm just like,
Oh, yeah.
there is no place for this, even in a movie from 1983.
No, absolutely not. So then we see Bond, and he's tied up at the top of this castle thing.
Chained up,
excuse me. So then Bond, of course, gets Largo monologuing a little bit, and we get that line that we were talking about earlier.
You were a very good secret agent. Really?
And all that. And he's like, since you basically won, where are you hiding the bombs? And he of course, being the typical Bond villain, reveals that one of them is under the White House, under the president's feet.
Inexplicably. They just leave it at that.
Yeah, where? How? Okay, sure. You just magically got it under there. And and then to make it more plausible, Jason, he doesn't tell Bond where the other one is.
Right.
Because that way it feels more realistic, of course.
Well, there's always a slight possibility that Bond could escape and he could actually affect that one. But
well, because as being a Bond villain, he is almost required by law to leave before Bond is actually killed.
Correct.
Correct.
That's it's Inspector's operating manual.
It is. So literally the moment Largo is out the door and walking away, Bond breaks out the first Q Branch issued laser watch ever shown on screen and breaks free of the chains. Break free from the chains. And so he breaks out, and then we get as he's breaking out of these, that's when we get more of this very awful stereotypical, the natives are all oogling Domino because they rip the burqa off of her and she's just wearing the negligee or whatever.
Right.
And they're all trying to pay money, I guess, to get with her or something.
No, they're trying to buy her. He's basically selling her into slavery.
Right. So, yeah. So that's going on. And then Bond finally... I
want to point out they tried to pay for her with gold coins. Like, they had a stash of doubloons somewhere.
Yeah, because, sure. So as this is all going on, Bond makes his way down, or he fights a couple guys inside the castle and steals like a little scarf type thing that he eventually wraps around his head to look incognito as he's walking out. It's like, oh, he totally blends in now.
Now that he's got his nice little custom tailored jacket and shirt and pants and shoes that were provided for him on the boat.
On the boat. But it's just so funny that he's, trying to look incognito with just a scarf on, smoking a cigarette, like, just out here like you do.
Right.
Nothing to see here.
Don't mind me.
Yeah. So then he steals a horse. He knocks the guy off the horse or whatever. And he jumps on the horse and Domino manages to break free somehow. I don't even remember exactly how that worked out, but she breaks free and jumps onto the back of the horse. There's a really funny moment too once she's on Bond's horse, and you can clearly see that it's no longer Kim Basinger on the back of that horse. It's definitely a man. So that's fun. In a negligee, no less.
So, you think he got paid extra for that?
One would hope. So, unless it was his thing. I mean, who knows? You never know.
I like to say, he got his chops busted quite a bit on that one, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Look at Larry. Woo!
Woo! Looking good, Larry.
Larry. Woo! Ha cha cha cha.
So then they're doing the thing on the horse, going up this castle, like up and around, going all the way to the top of the castle on the horse. I'm kind of wondering whether True Lies took some inspiration from this scene or something.
Seems like they might have pulled a lot from this scene or this movie, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, very much so. So
we go back and listen to James Cameron. He's like, oh yeah, Never Say Never Again's my favorite one ever. I don't know why he sounded like John C. Reilly there. Hey, it's like my favorite. I don't even know why. But yeah, James Cameron sounds an awful lot like John C. Reilly.
Sure, of course he does. So,
well, he even had stereotypical Arab people. So
yeah,
there's a lot. There was a missile involved.
There are a lot of connections there to True Lies.
Tango.
Yeah, I mean, they're just popping up everywhere. And now we're going to see this one too, where suddenly they decide to jump off the top of the castle on the horse, the both of them.
On a horse.
And we get some interesting CG from the looking up at the top of the tower. You can see the little glow around.
Oh, yeah, the compositing was...
the image that they animated down towards the water.
It was obviously a miniature horse that was doing the fall off the building.
Right,
Or it was a good composite shot with the real horse from far, far away from the bottom.
Or that. So
either way, it was awful.
Yeah. And then they cut to maybe the most offensive treatment of animals in this movie, where they cut to the actual horse in close-up falling into the water back first. Yeesh.
Which is, honestly, the only way that horse is going to want to go in there. It's going to break a leg if it goes in the other way.
Yeah. Well, and I even heard that the UK version of this movie has that moment cut out of it because it was so offensive. So that happens. They all go in the water. And then, of course, to ease people's minds, they then quickly cut to the horse in the water, doggy paddling, or in this case, horsey paddling towards the towards the shore. And just as they're like trying to swim away from the castle, that's when the cavalry shows up.
Sure, laser sub.
Laser sub shows up. They start shooting up the castle, and then there's a rescue boat that comes up and picks them up. No rescue boat for the horse, though.
Well, because it was only horse paddling all the way to the shore.
Sure. So as soon as the boat, the rescue boat, makes it to the sub and Bond meets Leiter, he's like, call the White House about the first nuke. So that's going on. And then, so it's weird that it's like, oh, so we've rescued the president just simply by telling them, oh, well, there's a nuke under the White House. Again, fantastical. It's like, where under the White House exactly did you put this missile?
Well, I mean, you could save the president pretty easy. You just put him on Marine One and he flies away out of range. But that they solved the whole problem relatively quickly seems pretty fantastical since they didn't even fucking know where it was at.
Right, exactly. So then it's like, oh, take a rest time. Because now we cut to the submarine and Bond and Domino are taking a shower together on a U.S. military submarine.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's fine.
It's definitely going to have a shower big enough for two people.
Right. And of course, that's when we get the line from Bond, it was never like this when I was in the Navy. And we're also now in the part of the movie where the Bond girl magically falls in love with James almost from one scene to the next. Like one scene, she's just kind of okay with Bond, and the next scene, she is in love with Bond.
Well, it takes just one kiss from 007 to...
That's right.
Go in the right direction.
That's right.
Yeah, back rubs. I mean, she's already gotten more out of him than she probably got out of Lago in the last 10 years. So
you may be correct about that. So, yeah. Because now she's saying stuff like, well, I don't want you to go back for the other nuke. I don't want to lose you, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, all that Vicky Vale nonsense.
All that Vicky Vale nonsense. And of course, just as they're sort of snogging, M calls him, because Bond can never not be cock-blocked in this movie, ever.
I think in most movies.
Well, with the exception of the fishing girl. I guess he never got interrupted then. Actually, he did later on for round 2.
And then he got the phone call from Mr. Bean. So.
Right. So I stand corrected. He's always getting interrupted. Always.
And let's face it, the end of every single normal Bond movie
is coitus interruptus.
And somebody's always calling him with something. And then he's all like, yes, I'm going to cover the camera. Or I'll go ahead and do this, blah, blah, blah.
Right. I believe he's attempting re-entry, sir.
Exactly. I don't know why M always bothers. M should be like, well, 007's probably busy engaged in some extracurricular activity. We'll contact him. We'll wait till he contacts us. I think.
Yeah. So M calls and they're like, we cracked the code on the White House nuke and everyone's saved on that end.
That one kind of felt to me like C-3PO when he interrupts Han and Leia when they're kissing in Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
You know, I've isolated the negative power coupling, sir.
Exactly. So then they, I don't even remember how they tracked Largo's boat.
He got the coordinates off of the.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh, and then they
get
did
there, and you have to use the Tears of Allah medallion to
That's
figure out
right.
the location because it's the coastline on it.
That's right. There's that little.
X never marks the spot. I just kept thinking of Harrison Ford and X never marks the spot. Marcus!
I forgot about that whole map scene with the little. Well, because that's how like insignificant that stupid necklace was.
Exactly. Largo makes it out seem like the fate of the world depends on this necklace, and he got there just fine without it.
Right.
So,
He knew
what the
exactly
fuck?
where.
It doesn't
No.
have a special code. It's
Nope.
not like you have to put it in and match the lines up in a certain way to open
Right.
the door.
It literally serves no purpose.
It's literally just there for Bond to figure the plan out.
It's literally just there for Bond to figure out where they went. That's it.
However, I'm pretty sure that's Inspector's operations manual as well. In like section 4. I think it's actually in the same section where you reveal the plan, but you walk away before you're absolutely sure they're dead.
Right, exactly. It's all in that same
Yeah,
It's probably in the same paragraph.
No, I think it's probably, its own different section of the book, but of that particular section of the book. But
Yes.
I think it's all included in there. I've only looked at it once, and admittedly, it was a copy that I found on Russian microfilm. So
Yeah. Well, that's how the CIC runs things. So they realize that based on where Largo's boat is, the submarine's not going to be able to go there because
7 fathoms.
yeah, it's not deep enough. So that's when Bond is like,
Commander Peterson, are you equipped with the new XT-7Bs?
That's top secret. How do you know about them?
From a Russian translation of one of your service manuals. Sorry about that.
And it makes me laugh as Felix is in the back there, completely nonplussed, like,
yeah, it's like,
of course he knows.
He's James Bond. What did you expect? So, also, okay, now while the XT-7Bs are fun simply for the comedic spectacle that they are, these little pod jet-powered things that come out of missiles, aside from that, I really don't feel like they serve much purpose because they could have easily just ran a little boat up there. They don't, you know what I mean?
Well, they could have, but I think that the point was to get a craft launched from a submarine means, first of all, a submarine has to surface.
Right.
Now,
Okay.
granted, they would have seen the location with the missiles launching, but the sub could leave at that point. But
I wonder if this is out of expediency.
yes, exactly. First of all, it's plot expediency because you don't have to film the subsurfacing. You don't have to film them launching the boats.
Right.
But a Zodiac theoretically wasn't going to move as fast as one of those rocket pods would have.
Right.
And it could put them wherever they wanted to go. They wouldn't have had to land on the beach. They'd have had the high ground. And as we know from Revenge of the Sith, if you have the high ground, it's fine.
That's right.
So,
you win every time.
every single time. But it made sense. The same reason he used the jetpack in Thunderball. It just made sense.
And it looks fun.
To get them where they needed to go.
Right.
And for what's his nuts, Kevin such and such to
Kevin McClory
to just go and fuck you.
Yeah, that's definitely another middle finger moment. So the port's open and these two missiles fly out of the water and out come Bond and Leiter in a brand new pair of XT-7Bs. And so then we see Largo and his men. They're underwater, and then they surface in this cave, and they're moving the nuke to where they intend to detonate it. And then we quickly get a quick shot of Bond and Leiter landing on the island. They're just to the shore. That's the other part. This is another confusing thing for me is like they seem to know exactly where to go underwater. So they ditch the XT-7Bs and go underwater at the exact point that will take them under the island to this area. Like they knew exactly where it was, but
Well, they did. They had a map.
okay.
X marks the spot.
It was all there. It was all there, black and white, crystal clear. So they go under the water and they catch up. So like they're essentially like almost just behind them at this point, inside this underwater cave.
Right.
So at this point, Bond sort of tells Felix to go give the sub their coordinates while he goes in and tries to stop Largo. So he starts doing the little sneaky uppy thing towards the operation. And he sees that as he's monkeying around, he sees that they have a rope tied around the head of this large Egyptian statue. But he notices that it's cracked really badly, so he starts to work on dislodging this entire head to send the whole thing careening down. And then that's what we cut to Largo, who now is walking into where the actual Tears of Allah pool, or whatever you want to call this bath area.
Well, it's a well.
It's the Well of Souls. So,
yeah. Well, I just said, well, it's a well.
Well, it's a well.
Well, it's a well.
So he's walking in there and he's talking to that very stoic guy that I mentioned earlier, who was just looking at his computer screen as he was diverting the missiles into the water. So he's
Zukov,
there.
Zarkov, or
yeah, something like that.
Zoogie Hauser, MD.
Sure, that guy. So. Oh, so then we get more FaceTime. So then, in an underwater cave, no less, he's got full bars, Jason.
Full bars.
He's got full bars in order to FaceTime Blofeld, showing him his progress of what's going on, like you do in 1983.
Sure.
So then Bond finally dislodges the head and the thing goes tumbling down and chaos erupts and Felix starts shooting, and then that's when the backup arrives and this big shootout starts. Meanwhile, Bond goes after Largo, but at that point, Largo and his men, they arm the nuke and they head into the water. So Bond, just when he tries to go into the water, the whole thing caves in and he's cut off from going the same route that Largo went. So now he's got to go all the way back around. So the shooting goes on and suddenly we cut to outside, and it's wild the level of tight communication between Bond and this submarine in 1983, because he's now suddenly on, like, hanging from a U.S. helicopter who's...
And it's like, just to point out to everybody, they don't carry helicopters on submarines, if you hadn't figured that out already.
Right, exactly. So they're carrying Bond over to where the outside well is, the outside opening.
The actual well.
Yes, the actual well that leads down to where all this underwater action underneath the island is. And then Bond jumps off of this little swing that he's on and dives into the water. Yeah, meanwhile, we've got all these people native to that island just kind of watching all this going on.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Which I actually appreciate that. I always love a good reaction shot from the locals.
Sure.
It's always one of my favorite things. It always adds a little something. So Bond dives into the well, and of course, I should also mention that in that time, he's already back in all of his scuba gear. He's already topped up with oxygen and everything else, dives into the water, goes after Largo, and then we get this fight underwater between Largo and Bond with the missile. And Bond manages at one point to sort of wedge this vehicle that's got the nuke on it. He wedges Largo between a rock or a piece of coral or something.
Sure.
And the vehicle.
And it's stuck going in forward motion, so Largo can't move. Yeah,
right.
He pinned him up on the wall like Spider-Man pins Green Goblin up with the Goblin glider. He's not going anywhere.
Exactly. So at that point, Bond's trying to defuse the bomb, but in the meantime, Largo is reaching for the harpoon gun that's attached to this vehicle. But who's to the rescue? Domino. Because Domino's got to take care of her new man.
Right. We get her in a skimpier scuba outfit.
Exactly. Because why would she need any sort of protection underwater?
Okay, we just put her in a regular wetsuit. I mean,
right. I know.
They just happen to have a Sports Illustrated swimsuit hanging out on the submarine. Kind of like Katanga just had that dress in his quarters, right?
Right.
The sub captain's like, well, you never know.
Exactly. You
We've
never
got
know.
the XT7Bs here. We could get a secret agent in here at any point in time.
That's
They
right.
always have hot chicks with them, so it's here in case we need it, boys.
We need some wardrobe in here. Come on.
Or worse yet, it was the captain's.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Well, good on him for fitting into such a tight...
No doubt. He's very fit.
Very fit. So, I digress. So Domino shoots him, and it's interesting that they did make a point to have her sort of have this look of shock, like, oh my God, I had to kill this guy, this man that I had been with. Like they actually tried to build some sort of weird little moment for a half a second with her, like, and Bond having to sort of comfort her and be like, all right, we got to get out of here now. So
yeah, and I want to point out, and maybe it's because of the movie rating, I don't know, but no blood came out of Largo when that harpoon went into him. So that tells me he was a vampire.
Certainly. I mean, it does feel this movie does have a very G.I. Joe cartoon level of no showing any blood whatsoever throughout the whole thing.
We didn't even get gunfire when the gun's fired. We got lasers from a submarine.
Right. So, and then finally, and that's pretty much, woohoo, save the day. Well, Domino saved the day, really. But
007 did turn the nuke off.
He did turn the nuke off. He did disarm the nuke. So finally, we cut to, we do this very clever, they're really big on match cuts in this movie.
I think that's a Kirshner thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So we do a sort of a clever match cut to Domino in the water doing this weird little dive flippy thing underwater in her leopard. It's not a leopard print. It is the face
of a tiger.
It's the face of a tiger with his furry chin in a very strategically placed location on the swimsuit.
I don't think it would be unfair to say that it's the kind of swimsuit that you would see on someone named Pussy Galore, less than you would say on a Domino Patachi.
Right. Given that the tiger's furry chin was right in the Tchaikovsky.
Right in the Tchaikovsky, baby.
So she then gets out of the pool for a gratuitous effect, of course, walks over, and meanwhile, you've got I love how, so Bond's sitting in this hot tub, leaned way back, like, just, I'm the badass old guy that's like, yep, right. That's me, just hanging out in the hot tub, like, very, very 50-something. That's a very 50-something sit that he's got going on in the hot tub.
No doubt.
But she comes over and brings him a drink, and he's like, it's a very fruity drink, and he's like, always have my martinis at blah, 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 or something like that. And that's when we get yet another sort of wink where something like, oh, James, you never change, or whatever. He's like, well, maybe I will, or something like that. And again, they start to try and snog, and of course, they hear something. With somebody at the gate. And who's at the gate? But of course, it's Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean.
Here to screw up everything once more.
Trying to convince Bond to come back to the MI6, and the world is in great peril without you there, and blah, blah, blah. And he throws out the title of the movie.
Because why wouldn't you in a movie like this? You have to say the title at least once in a movie like this. Right. So he's like, never again. Never? And then we get that wink that you see everywhere. The Bond wink that's such a meme now online amongst Bond fans. And there is never say never again.
And I'll just say I'll probably never watch this again. And I can say never and mean it.
I got to be honest, I might be right there with you. I think I've had quite enough. It was fun, but I don't think I need to see. I didn't hate it. I didn't either. I expected to kind of dislike this movie, but I actually enjoyed myself quite a bit. That being said, I don't think I need to watch it again.
We said it at the beginning of the podcast, right?
Yeah.
This is a perfectly enjoyable 80s spy movie. And if you remove any Bond trappings to it,
yes,
it's fine.
Yeah, if I was able to somehow make my mind disassociate this from the Bond franchise, I think I would enjoy this movie a lot more.
Yeah,
like I understand why there are people online that sort of champion this version of Bond, because if you're capable of separating it, it's kind of a fun.
It is.
It's kind of a fun, silly romp of a Bond movie, or of a spy movie, I should say.
Yeah.
It's just if you compare it, if you can't de-link it from the rest of the franchise, it's hard not to make the comparisons and go, oh God, what?
Right. Well, and I said at the beginning, it's a Bond movie completely untethered from all of the Bond trappings that people are used to.
Yes.
So I think the majority of the people who don't like it is because none of those Bond trappings are in it.
Right.
And and what it says is you can make a relatively decent Bond movie without following the cookie cutter format that they've been using forever, right?
Yeah.
Is it great? No. Is it the best Bond movie ever? No. Is it better than some of the traditional Bond movies?
Absolutely, yes. Arguably, yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
The Man with the Golden Gun?
Right.
I would watch Never Say Never Again any day over The Man with the Golden Gun. That's just
right.
me.
I mean, I would even argue that short of a certain redhead that's in the movie, I'd watch this over Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah.
But that redhead is always very compelling. So if I had a choice, I'm going to go the full St. John on that one. But yeah, and I mean, not to get too modern about it, but I think that's one of the reasons why whatever Amazon decides to come up with for the next Bond endeavor is probably going to be fine.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that they will include more of the Bond trappings because they can.
Yes. Well, and furthermore, if you think about the fact that Bond's going into public domain sooner than later at this point,
everybody's going to be able to make this kind of James Bond movie.
Exactly. So it could open it up to a lot of weird, potentially fun romps that are kind of Bond but not Bond.
Right.
That if you're willing to let go of the normal trappings of the franchise, you might be able to enjoy yourself with. So
yeah, absolutely.
It's an interesting movie, but yeah, I think I've seen it enough times now after doing this review. I think I can just let it.
Well, I'm relatively certain I've watched it more in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last 20 years.
Yes.
So, because I know that I watched this movie once with my wife pretty early on when we were dating as sort of an introduction to what influenced Jason Greenberg in his life kind of thing. Or it was just, this one's not bad, let's watch it. But I think the last time I watched it, like the last time we watched True Lies, I'm like, well, that should be enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I got everything I can get out of that.
Yeah. Oh, boy. All right, but hey, what did you think of Never Say Never Again, tens of listeners? As always, we are always looking for listener interaction to tell us what you thought of the movie or how you like our podcast in general, or if you have ideas for future episodes. So please don't hesitate to get in touch with us on email at cicdeaddrop@gmail.com, on Instagram it's Central Intelligence Cinema separated by underscores, or on Twitter it's @CIC SpyPod. And there's a whole slew of other socials we're on, and you can find the links to all of them at the bottom of the show description of every episode that we put out. So please get in touch. Say hi. But what do you say, Jason? Do you think we should get on a pair of XT7Bs and get the hell out of here?
Yes.
Well, with that, I'm Ben.
And I'm Jason.
And the CIC will return with more missions, more martinis,
and more mayhem.